how do I create deeper connection? Well, deeper connection comes from being able to connect vulnerably with other people. And that means being emotionally honest without being really critical. And it means that space where it does feel a little bit scary, but you need to set safe space around it. And that's what my 4 tips are going to help you with. So the first one is to use oracle cards. Might sound a little bit weird. Usually, you think of them for guidance, but these are excellent for resolving problems and getting creative solutions. So if you use them with intention, so maybe connecting your heart with the oracle cards, the intention, like I want this to connect, may the card that I draw help us connect more deeply. Or if it's, say it's like a problem with an intimate partner, you want to resolve the problem, you set the intention to resolve the problem with the card, to be able to like facilitate a dialogue that's going to get to the root of the problem and help you be emotionally honest in a safe way. So then shuffling the cards, I tend to, I feel a lot of energy when I shuffle cards because I'm an energy healer. And so then, you'll get an intuitive nudge on when to pick a card. So, oh, okay. For example, wondrous universe. So what I see in the card and what you see in the card is going to be different. And so maybe if this is a solution to a problem, we can both share our perspectives on the problem, and that way we can find a way. Often we're full of assumptions. We make judgments about other people's behavior that are unfounded. They're based on our own wounds from the past, and they've got nothing to do with what that person is doing. So by being able to talk about it through a card, it helps kind of develop that intimacy. You can use them in groups. I use them in a networking group. And the thing is that when you talk about a card, you are sharing yourself. You are sharing what you see in the card. You may get intuitive nudges, you may get creative ideas, and often someone's showing you their heart when they describe an oracle card, especially if it's been set up with that loving intention. So oracle cards are a fantastic way of building deeper connection with people. So tip number 2 is to learn together. Learning is a little bit vulnerable. You don't know. There's a lot that we don't know. And that curiosity, that being in that curious state, makes you more open, makes you less judgmental and critical of other people. And when you see it as either as an activity of learning about each other, or you're actually learning something together, it is a great way of building deeper connection with you. You're exploring something new together. You're in that curious state. It's a great way of building deeper connection. So number 3 is sharing creativity. Oh, we've gone really vulnerable now, but this may be more appropriate in a group, maybe like a group coaching environment or a class. But if you have a prompt, maybe do it in a meditative state, so everybody's calm, everybody's in the present moment, there's mindfulness to it, and then you have a prompt, and then you can write a piece based on that prompt, say for something like 10 minutes. Now that kind of creativity is extremely vulnerable. It's just come through. It's not polished. You haven't had time to make it perfect. It's probably imperfect. And that is a perfect way of building intimacy, as long as you make it safe. So for the person who's sharing, for it to be safe, they need to know that they're not going to be criticized and shut down, that they're not going to have defensive parts of them coming forward. So the way to do that is to set some agreements beforehand. that those who are listening, whether that's one person or a group of people, they are focusing on what they love about the piece. And they're only focusing on what they love about the piece. And when they focus on what they love, they are not going to be critical. They are not going to be judgmental. And it is safe to share that creativity with them. It's safe to share your heart. I keep mispronouncing that. It's safe to share your heart with them. It's safe to share that vulnerability with them because they're not going to judge. And that brings us on to the last tip. Tip 4 is to know your inner critic. Now, we've all got an inner critic. For most of us in childhood, being shamed was a way that we were taught to behave, to fit with our parent or caregivers' expectations, to fit in the classroom, to fit in society. Being shamed was the way for it, and we internalized that and developed inner critics who are just trying to keep us safe. Now, you may have multiple inner critics. You have one that focuses on perfectionism, that's telling you that's not good enough, or another one that kind of thinks you're lazy and wants you to keep doing stuff. All these different inner critics, and they can criticize us, and we can use them to criticize other people. But when you're criticized, you don't open up, do you? You tend to close it down. Well, depending on how the criticism is said. If it's said in a loving, constructive, open way, yeah, you might open up and listen. If it's said in a pretty critical, shaming way, you're just going to close down, and that intimacy, that connection is lost. So knowing your own inner critic, how it talks to you, and how it either talks about or talks to other people is a really, really important piece of self-awareness to develop deeper connection. Now, alongside the inner critic, we get these inner defenders. So we're made up of all these different parts, and they interact with each other. So the inner defender recognizes that the inner critic is being quite mean to us, and it wants to protect us from the inner critic, or it wants to protect us from somebody else's critic that's coming at us. So the defender and the critic can kind of get locked in conflict. They both need to know that we're safe. Their existence is based on protecting us and keeping us safe. So once they know they're safe, you can kind of build a relationship with them. You can build a dialogue with them, and you can reassure them, I'm safe now, it's okay. And they can soften and get out of the way of that beautiful connection through vulnerability, that beautiful connection through creating, through learning, and through sharing what you see in an oracle card. So those are my 4 tips. Which one did you like the most? Are you going to try some out now? If you like this video, you might want to subscribe to my channel for more. And I'm running a course about using these 4 tips, and you can find the details in the description below. I'll see you next time.